For those that are slowly joining in, I just want to say good afternoon. How y'all doing? I'm going to wait to see how many people are able to join. Today's subject is administrative procedures, administrative law, and who creates these administrative procedures, rules, and regulations. So I'm going to wait and hopefully we'll get as many people as we can to participate or at least join us. For those that are here, thank you. Thank you for joining and thank you for the support. So yesterday, thank God for a few people coming together. We came across the 2019 Administrative Procedures Act. Who's behind it? Obviously, for those that have been following me regarding the Bundys and the Hammonds fighting the Bureau of Land Management, the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and U.S. Forestry Services, and including Mr. Robinson, Joe Robinson, you'll realize everything has been done under the Administrative Procedures Act, and including in the federal level. So we have two types of Administrative Procedures Act. We have one state level and we have one federal level. That's where the BLM, the Department of Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Forestry, DEQ, Department of Quality, Department of Agriculture, the EPA, the USDA, all these treasonous corporations are under the Administrative Procedures Act. This is why the American people need to understand that the bar has continued to hijack our Constitution, including all three branches of government. Let me say that. That's the bar members. That's the judges, the lobbyists, the politicians, and the lawyers. They're all getting rich from stealing our natural resource or our precious resource, including our land, our water, and minerals. This is why the American people need to start educating themselves and understand that we no longer have a separation of powers because all three branches of government have been hijacked. This is a perfect example for the American people to see for themselves, for them to read on how all three branches of government are being hijacked and the criminals that are behind the creation of these Administrative Procedures Act. I truly wonder if our 45th president, Donald J. Trump, is aware of what's happening. And if he is, why is he allowing it to continue? When the treasonous, corrupt, deep state cabal are mostly members of the American Bar Association. And for those that do not believe me, look at Hillary Clinton, an attorney, Barack Hussein Obama, an attorney, Michelle Obama, an attorney, Bill Clinton, an attorney, James Comey, an attorney, Robert Mueller, an attorney, Peter Strzok, an attorney, Loretta Lynch, an attorney. How many more do I have to mention? Ron Wyden, an attorney, or Senator Ron Wyden, Senator Jeff Merkley, an attorney. How many more names of attorneys do I have to show you that the swamp is deep through Washington, D.C. And when they create rules for them to benefit through their 401k while stealing land from hardworking ranchers and Native Americans and from the American people, what do you expect? If the American people continue to be dumbed down, if the American people are not willing to educate themselves, if the American people are not willing to read, if not the American people are not willing to comprehend, if you're not willing to do that, then you should not be able to complain. Because at the end of the day, the American people are the ones that have the power. And when you start realizing why they want to go after your First Amendment and your Second Amendment, that means your guns, you start realizing that these bar members know that the American people are waking up. And it's about time the American people start holding these criminals accountable. And this is why I don't want anybody to take my word for it. It's time for the American people to read. Look at everything, every government building, it states administrative. Or it has a Freemason sign or an Illuminati sign. Illuminati, a pyramid, right? With the eye in the center. It's deep state, new world order, all carried under the Administration or Administrative Procedures Act. This is why the American people need to start reading and not just reading this document about the 2019 Administrative Procedures Act, but look how they're twisting the words for them, for themselves, for financial gain. Because at the end of the day, they're not going to shit what they eat. And if the American people continue to be asleep, they will continue to perpetrate treason upon the Republic. They will not follow the Constitution. Look at Uranium 1. Look at Barrick Gold Inc. Look at Calico Resource. Look at Nevada Energy or Nevada Mining. You think these corporations are looking out for the best interest of the American people? Hell no. They're trying to figure out where they can find gold, silver, copper, and uranium, extract it and sell it to our enemies. At the same time, get rich off of it. This is why they'll never shit where they eat. And it's time for the American people to start realizing and saying, where the hell is this coming from? I'm giving you the answer under the Administrative Procedures Act. Don't take my word for it. Read the damn document. Why do you think your courthouses say administrative? Why do you think the Commissioner in Tax Revenue, when you go into that office, it says administrative? State and federal. Why do you think when you go into the BLM, Department of Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Forestry buildings, it says administrative? Why do you think when you go into the Department of Motor Vehicles, it states administrative? It's all about administrative. And what happens is, under this umbrella of administrative, is where they create corporations. Corporations so they can have ties to their 401k of financial gain of the sweat of the American people. So when you cash that paycheck tomorrow on a Friday, you'll start realizing why you're getting so heavily taxed. Because you no longer have a representation. Because you're being heavily taxed because you're funding these corporations. Your tax dollars being used to defraud you. And you're allowing it. So when you want to blame somebody, look in the mirror and blame yourself. Because what have you done to call these criminals out? What have you done to expose these criminals? What have you done going to the Capitol and saying, why are we not going and following the Constitution of not just the state Constitution, but the federal Constitution? What have you done? A lot of people have been putting their necks out on the line because we're bringing you out the truth. They try to silence this truth. They try to make you look like a conspiracy theorist. But what they don't realize, it takes two or more individuals to conspire in a crime. And this is a conspiracy. Everything that's being created under the Administrative Procedures Act is a conspiracy for the Bar Association, for members of the bar, your judges, your politicians, your lobbyists, and your attorneys. All members of the bar conspiring to defraud the American people of their children, of their monies, of their natural resource, the water, their land. And if you don't believe me, go back to the Bundy case in Nevada. Go back to the Hammond case in Oregon, or the Bundy case in Nevada also. All under the Administrative Procedures Act. I've been telling everybody for the past almost 3.5 years, that is not a court of record. It's all under the Administrative Procedures Act, unless the people, thank God for Ryan Bundy, to move into a constitutional courtroom. Most of the American people have been duped. We've been dumbed down because the Bar Association has infiltrated our learning institutions. And the only ones that get the proper education regarding the Constitution is their sons and their grandchildren. So imagine, they're stealing the riches off your children while these criminals get rich off the sweat of your back. As they continue to dumb down your children and your grandchildren through these government institutions. And if you want to even go deeper, Child Protective Services running under administrative. So when they're stealing your children, it's no court of record. It's an administrative hearing, unless you move that court into a court of record. No different than a rancher fighting for his land. You move that court to a court of record, to a common law court. No different than the Department of Fish and Wildlife, the U.S. Forestry, the DEQ, the EPA. You move it to a court of record. Your attorney won't tell you that. They'll never tell you that. Because they'll never shit where they eat. They won't go against the bar, and they won't go against the Administrative Procedures Act. because it's not to their best interest. It's how they make money. Until the American people see for themselves that we no longer have a separation of powers and that there are violations of emolument. Look up the definition of emolument. You'll understand that this is how they're hijacking our country. And the states in 2 locations within your state constitution and 2 locations within your federal constitution. And it's up to the American people to look up the word emolument and to study the word emolument, and you see the multiple violations within the Constitution by these criminal cabal, deep state swamp, New World Order. So for those out there, I hope you guys circulate it. I hope you guys tag your friends. I hope you share this video. Because at the end of the day, it's for our children. It's for the Americans. God-loving Americans to know the truth, to know what's happening within the Republic. Because as long as we sit back and we continue to be sheeples, then it's a lost cause. These criminals are running straight to the bank at your expense while you continue to be poor. Because we're funding our own demise. This is why this document is so crucial. That's why people that reside near this meeting that's going to be held should participate, should bring their cameras, should bring their video recorders. This is where the militia should come and stand and find out the criminals against the Republic and start questioning if they are for the Constitution or for the Administrative Procedures Act. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, Republican or Democrat, they're all both in bed together to screw the American people. So when you get that paycheck on Friday and you see how bad you're getting screwed through taxation, and not just with your paycheck, but when you put gas, when you pay your rent or your mortgage, when you buy food, when you buy your clothes, when you buy water, take a look at how much you're getting taxed. Add it up. Because that money is going somewhere. And if I was to tell you that money is going into their 401ks, what would you say? This general fund, this slush fund they call it, slush fund. How come nobody is trying to figure out where that money is allocated? And how come nobody's doing an audit on that money? And if that money, if that slush fund does exist, then why isn't that being properly distributed back to the American people? And why certain people are only able to have access to that slush fund? So to those out there, start reading. 2019 Administrative Procedures Act. There's a huge conference on this, huge hearing. Are you going to sit on your ass? Or are you going to actually be proactive? Because at the end of the day, it's up to the American people to seek the truth. And all I strongly advise you is go to your the tax commissioner of revenue. You'll see the word administrative. Go to your court buildings and the websites. You'll see the word administrative. Go to the Department of Fish and Wildlife and U.S. Forestry building and their website. You'll see administrative. Go to the Child Protective Services building and their website. You'll see administrative. All money generating profit at the expense of the taxpayers, at the expense of a rancher, at the expense of a Native American, at the expense of a mother and father. That is what's happening. And it's up to the American people to decide what they're planning to do or willing to do. So I truly hope that the people that reside near and around that convention, that hearing, or that conference, to participate, to look it up, to being proactive, and read the definition of administrative in the Black Law Dictionary. But most of all, read Public Law 404, Administrative Procedures Act. And if you don't want to look it up, after I get done with this live stream, I promise you, I will put the Public Law 404 Administrative. I took screenshots, 2 posts on there, and I didn't even highlight them Because as they call me, the king of highlighting. But at the end of the day, I don't care what they want to spin it as. The truth is the truth in black and white. And it's up to the American people to figure out if your executive, legislative, and judicial branch has been hijacked by members of the American Bar Association. That's your judges, your lawyers, your politicians, and your lobbyists. It's up to you, America. And I truly hope that the militia and the American people start figuring this out. That the Administrative Procedures Act is not looking out for the best interest of America, and especially our military. Because all these wars are at the expense, blood and sweat of a mother and father for these corporations that are tied with lobbyists and members of the bar. That's why they have heavily financial interest or monetary gain or financial gain into their 401k, which is an emolument violation and a separation of powers. So to those out there, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining. And I truly hope, because at the end of the day, it's the future of your children, our grandchildren, and our military. Because it's the military that's being put in harm's way for these criminal cabal, the New World Order, the deep state, however you want to call them. And to those out there, especially Antifa, you're also being defrauded by these criminals. You get a paycheck today, but tomorrow you're going to be defrauded. And if it's not you, your children, your grandchildren. And if you don't believe me, this Friday, look at your paycheck. See how much you're getting screwed on taxation and how much representation you're actually getting. For those mothers and fathers that are going against Child Protective Services, look how long you're getting due process of justice within the de facto courts operating in the administrative. To those ranchers out there that are fighting for your land and your water rights and your mineral rights, look for yourself if they're operating an Administrative Procedures Act, including Native Americans. Find out for yourself if you're actually fighting an Administrative Procedures Act. Because if you are, why hasn't your attorney informed you in what type of court you're walking into? There's a difference regarding jurisdiction. Is it administrative, law of the sea, statutory, admiralty, or is it common law? Under Article 6, Section 2, Clause 2 of the United States Constitution. It's up to the American people. To those out there, thank you, and thank you. God bless our republic. God bless our children. God bless our military. And God bless us all.